The crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled under the light of 3 artificial suns. High Counselor Deho stood at the central podium, his iridescent ceremonial robes catching and reflecting rainbow patterns across the vast hall. His 4-fingered hand brushed across the smooth surface of the control panel, bringing up holographic displays of a blue-green planet. Around him, the representatives of the 30 most advanced civilizations in the known galaxy peered at the images with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright contempt. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and a few were pure energy beings contained in specialized suits. Yet they all shared one thing: a sense of superiority that came from thousands of years of technological advancement. "This," Daho announced, his voice resonating through the chamber, "is Earth. Our scout ships discovered it in what the natives call the solar system." He zoomed in on images of bustling cities, showing vehicles that still ran on wheels and buildings that barely reached into the lower atmosphere. Jai Yun, the chief xenobiologist, stepped forward. Her scaled skin shimmered as she moved toward the central display. She had spent 3 months studying the humans from orbit, and her findings had amused her greatly. "These humans," she said, bringing up detailed biological scans, "are fascinating in their primitiveness." The chamber grew quiet as she continued her presentation. "They require rest for nearly a third of their daily cycle. They call it sleep. Without it, their minds begin to fail." She paused as several council members made clicking sounds of amusement. "Their bodies are supported by an internal calcium-based framework that breaks easily. They succumb to microscopic organisms we eliminated from our worlds eons ago." Minister Min leaned forward in his hover chair, his antenna twitching with interest. As head of the diplomatic corps, he had seen many species join the council, but none quite so underdeveloped. "Look at their weapons," he said, pointing to images of their military forces. "They still use chemical propellants and crude explosive devices." More clicking laughter filled the chamber. One representative, a being of pure light, flashed in patterns that translated to, "They haven't even mastered basic gravity manipulation." In the back of the chamber, Admiral Sunmai watched silently. Unlike her colleagues, she focused on different aspects of the human footage. She noticed how quickly they moved despite their primitive bodies, how they adapted to different environments with simple but effective solutions. But it was the combat footage that truly caught her attention. "Their emotional responses make them unpredictable," Jai Yun continued. "They make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. Their social structures are chaotic, divided into nearly 200 different territorial groups they call nations." Minister Min rose from his seat, his ceremonial medals clinking softly. "I propose we offer them protectorate status," he announced. "They clearly need our guidance. With proper direction, they might make excellent servants for the more advanced races." The chamber erupted in appreciative clicking and flashing lights. Representatives discussed how humans could serve their species, what tasks these primitive beings might be capable of performing. But Admiral Sunmi's eyes remained fixed on a particular piece of footage playing in the corner of the display. It showed human soldiers in what they called combat training. While her colleagues saw only primitive techniques, she noticed something else: the intensity in their eyes, the efficiency of their movements, the way they worked together seamlessly despite their supposed emotional nature. She watched as human soldiers carried wounded comrades across dangerous terrain, saw them adapt instantly when their weapons malfunctioned, observed their ability to function despite exhaustion and fear. These weren't the actions of simple primitive beings. These were the attributes of survivors. As the Council voted unanimously to approach Earth with their offer of protection, Sunmai made notes in her personal database. Something told her that these humans wouldn't react the way her fellow Council members expected. She had seen that look before, in the eyes of species who refused to submit, who fought against impossible odds. But when she tried to voice her concerns, Minister Min cut her off with a wave of his hand. "Admiral, surely you're not worried about these primitives. Their most powerful weapons couldn't even scratch the paint on our smallest ships." But Admiral Sunmai wasn't so sure. Her scanners had detected something else. Energy readings from deep within Earth's mountains that shouldn't have been possible with their technology level. And now, more satellites were moving, using maneuvers that suggested advanced gravitational understanding. As the delegates filed out of the assembly hall, General Jinwu made a series of coded calls. Launch sites disguised as mining operations began final preparations. Hidden shipyards beneath the ocean floor increased production. The networks of tunnels beneath every major mountain range hummed with activity. 20 years of preparation, he muttered to himself. Let's hope it's enough. His tablet showed one final message. Every military force on Earth was now at silent readiness, waiting for the signal that everyone hoped wouldn't be necessary. Ambassador Hejun returned to his ship, confident in humanity's coming submission. Sun Mai wanted to explain that it wasn't their weapons that concerned her. It was their spirit, their determination, their seemingly endless ability to push past their limitations. But she knew her words would fall on deaf ears. The council had already made up their mind. As the session ended and the representatives filed out, discussing how they would divide up Earth's resources and labor force, Sun Mai remained behind. She replayed the combat footage one more time, watching as human soldiers performed their warfare rituals, something they called battle cries. The sound sent a shiver down her spine, though she couldn't explain why. We might be making a terrible mistake, she whispered to the empty chamber, but only the soft hum of the holographic displays answered her warning. The Grand United Nations Assembly Hall had never been so full. Thousands of delegates from every nation sat in tense silence as Ambassador Hejun's tall, silvery form approached the podium. His 4 arms were spread in what his species considered a peaceful gesture, but to the humans, it looked like a predator ready to strike. The advanced translator floating beside him hummed to life, converting his complex speech patterns into Earth's languages simultaneously. People of Earth, his words echoed through the chamber. The Galactic Council has watched your development with great interest. We see your struggles, your limitations, your conflicts. Today, we offer you salvation. General Jinwu sat in the back row, his weathered face betraying no emotion. Only his white-knuckled grip on his tablet showed his true feelings. 20 years ago, when the first hints of alien observation had been detected, he had been among the few who pushed for secret preparations. Now, as messages flooded his secure device, he knew those preparations might not be enough. The Council offers Earth protection and guidance, Hojum continued, his metallic voice carrying an undertone of condescension. Under our wise leadership, you will be elevated from your primitive state. We offer you 48 hours to accept this generous proposal of protectorate status. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. In his seat, Jinwu's tablet continued to buzz. Hidden factories, buried deep within mountains across the globe, were ramping up production. Messages from military commands worldwide reported their readiness status. The Chinese general sent a simple text. The dragon awakens. The Russian marshal. The bear is ready. The American admiral. Eagles in position. Above the earth, Minister Ta Min watched the proceedings from his ship's observation deck, accompanied by Jia Yun. Their vessel, like dozens of others, hung in geosynchronous orbit, a constant reminder of the Council's power. Look at them, Ta Min whispered, his antenna twitching with amusement. They're so quiet. Hejun watched in confusion as more sounds emerged. The Maori colonists began their haka, their powerful chant shaking the very ground. African war songs rose up, their complex rhythms weaving through the other sounds. Native American war cries pierced the air like arrows. In orbit, Admiral Sun Mai listened with growing concern. Her sensors detected something strange. The combined sound waves were creating patterns she had never seen before. The human voices, united in their ancient battle songs, were somehow amplifying each other. The colony's defense shields, which Hojun's scans had dismissed as primitive, began to pulse in rhythm with the songs. Energy readings spiked in ways that defied the Council's understanding of human technology. Colonel Mirai stood in the control center, her voice joining thousands of others. The psalms of 100 human cultures merged into something new, a symphony of defiance that made the alien ship's sensors scream in protest. Hidden weapon systems emerged from the Martian sand. What the Council had thought was a simple mining colony revealed its true nature, but it was the sound, the combined war cry of humanity, that made the alien crews hesitate. "What is this?" Hajun demanded, his confident tone cracking. "Stop this noise immediately." But his words were drowned out by the growing chorus. In the colony, children who had never known Earth sang songs their ancestors had carried into battle for millennia. The transparent dome sections vibrated with the sound, creating visual patterns that danced like aurora in the Martian sky. Admiral Sunma's warnings finally seemed justified. This was no simple mining colony, and these were not the actions of a species preparing to submit. The combined war cries of humanity's cultures had become something more, a weapon forged from defiance and tradition. The alien ship's sensors began to malfunction. The sound had grown so powerful it was affecting their systems in ways their technology couldn't explain. Hajun ordered his ships to pull back, trying to understand what was happening. In the control center, Mirai received messages from Earth. Other colonies, hidden throughout the solar system, were reporting ready. The songs that had started on Mars were spreading, carried through space on frequencies the aliens hadn't known humans could access. As the alien fleet retreated to a safe distance, the music didn't stop. The combined war cry of humanity continued to echo through space, a clear message to the Council. This species remembered every battle they had ever fought, every song they had ever sung in defiance of tyranny. Hajun sent an urgent message to the Council. For the first time in his diplomatic career, he felt fear. Not of the humans' weapons or technology, but of their spirit, a spirit that had turned their very voices into a weapon that his people's advanced technology couldn't comprehend. The Mars colony, far from surrendering, had just fired the first shot in humanity's war for independence, and they had done it not with advanced weapons, but with the accumulated power of thousands of years of warrior cultures, all singing as one. General Jinwu stood in the underground command center deep beneath Mount Everest. Massive screens showed the positions of alien ships in orbit. His old fingers moved across the control panel, entering the final authorization code. 20 years of waiting ends today, he said softly. Around the world, the Earth began to move. In the Rockies, entire mountainsides slid away, revealing massive hangar doors. Beneath the Sahara, the sand shifted as hidden launch facilities emerged. The oceans bubbled as underwater bases activated, releasing squadrons of vessels that weren't supposed to exist. Ambassador Hejun watched in disbelief as his sensors detected thousands of new signals. "Impossible," he whispered, his mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. What had appeared to be primitive satellites suddenly transformed, revealing advanced weapon systems seamlessly merged with alien technology. In Korea's hidden mountain base, Captain Yoo-jin climbed into the cockpit of her fighter. The neural interface connected, linking her mind directly to the hybrid craft, a perfect fusion of human ingenuity and reversed-engineered alien tech. Around her, hundreds of pilots did the same. "All squadrons, report in," she commanded. The responses came in dozens of languages, each pilot's voice filled with fierce determination. They had trained for this moment their entire lives, selected from birth for their exceptional abilities, and trained in secret facilities around the world. Admiral Sunma's horror grew as she watched the events unfold. Her scans showed human ships using technology that shouldn't have existed, performing maneuvers that defied the known laws of physics. The pilots pushed their bodies past what should have been fatal G-forces, their enhanced bodies, and sheer will keeping them conscious. General Jinwoo's voice echoed through all channels. "Operation Rising Thunder begins now." At his command, the first wave launched. Hybrid fighters erupted from hidden bases worldwide, their engines combining nuclear fusion with gravity manipulation technology the Council thought humans couldn't comprehend. Captain Yu Jin led the charge, her squadron climbing through the atmosphere at impossible speeds. For Earth, she broadcast, and thousands of voices answered. The war cry that had started on Mars now echoed from every human ship, transmitted on frequencies that pierced through alien communication systems. In his command ship, Hojun watched as human vessels executed combat maneuvers his species had deemed theoretically impossible. They'd moved like water, flowing around energy weapons, their shields absorbing impacts that should have vaporized them instantly. The secret of humanity's advancement lay in their unique approach. They hadn't just copied alien technology, they had reimagined it. Where alien ships relied on pure technology, human vessels combined technology with biological enhancement and raw determination. Yu Jin's fighter spun through a gap in the alien formation that was barely wider than her ship. Her neural interface allowed her to feel the vessel as an extension of her own body, responding to her thoughts faster than physical controls ever could. Behind her, her squadron followed, moving in patterns that looked more like a dance than combat. Admiral Sun Mai watched as human ships executed maneuvers that her own pilots would never attempt. They pushed the boundaries of what was possible, their enhanced reflexes and unwavering courage allowing them to survive situations that should have been certain death. Deep in the Himalayan command center, General Jin Woo activated the second phase. Massive energy signatures appeared across Earth as defensive systems powered up. The planet's magnetic field itself seemed to pulse as humanity revealed the full extent of their preparations. How? Hajun demanded over the command channel. How did you hide all this? The answer came as more human ships emerged from what had appeared to be debris fields and asteroid clusters. They had hidden their technology in plain sight, disguising advanced weapons as space junk and outdated satellites. Captain Yu Jin's squadron engaged the first alien battle group. Their hybrid fighters moved like lightning, targeting weak points that only decades of careful study had revealed. The aliens' advanced shields meant nothing against weapons specifically designed to bypass them. Admiral Sun Mei's tactical display showed impossible readings as human pilots pushed their ships to limits that should have torn them apart. Their neural interfaces allowed them to react faster than any organic being should have been able to, while their enhanced bodies withstood forces that should have been lethal. In the command center, General Jin Woo watched with pride as humanity revealed its true strength. They had taken the aliens' technology and improved it in ways its creators had never imagined, combining it with human innovation and determination. The battle continued to unfold as more hidden bases activated. What had looked like primitive human civilization was revealed to be an elaborate deception, hiding a level of advancement that had evolved along entirely different lines than the Council's technology. As Captain Yu Jin led another devastating attack run, her war cry echoed through space, joined by thousands of others. The sound carried more than defiance now. It carried the promise that humanity would never be underestimated again. Professor Minji worked deep in her underground laboratory beneath the Pacific Ocean, monitoring the effects of her life's work. Screens surrounding her showed real-time data from the battlefield in space. The combined war cries of humanity, enhanced by her specialized transmission systems, penetrated alien shields in ways conventional weapons couldn't. Fascinating, she muttered, watching as alien crews struggled against the psychological assault. Her research had revealed something extraordinary. Species that had evolved past warfare had also lost their defense against its primal effects. The sound of thousands of human warriors singing in battle affected them at a fundamental level. Commander Jae Young led his Space Marine unit toward an alien cruiser. Their advanced combat suits, designed to work in vacuum, incorporated Minji's sonic transmitters. As they approached their target, Jae Young started the battle song. His squad joined in, their voices merging into a terrifying chorus that penetrated the alien ship's hull. Inside their vessels, alien crews experienced something their species had forgotten generations ago. Fear. Pure, primal fear. The human war cries triggered responses their evolved minds couldn't control, awakening instincts buried beneath millennia of technological advancement. Professor Minji's monitors showed the effects clearly. Alien brain patterns deteriorated under the sonic assault. Species that prided themselves on pure logic found themselves overwhelmed by emotional responses they didn't understand. The more they tried to fight it with technology, the more vulnerable they became. In space, Jae Young's squad breached the alien cruiser's hull. They moved with practiced efficiency, centuries of human combat doctrine guiding their actions. While alien defense systems tried to predict their movements using logic, the humans adapted constantly, their strategies evolving mid-battle. They depend too much on their machines, Jae Young told his squad as they secured another section of the ship. We fight with both mind and heart. His words carried truth. The Council's automated defense systems couldn't keep up with human unpredictability. Back in her lab, Minji activated another layer of her sonic weapon. Ancient war chants from Earth's most fearsome warrior cultures. Maori, Viking, Zulu, Aztec, and dozens more, combined into a symphony of battle that made alien sensors malfunction and alien minds recoil. The effect was devastating. Council ships began to retreat from the sound, their crews unable to maintain control under the psychological onslaught. What seemed like primitive screaming to them carried the weight of humanity's entire history of warfare, refined into a weapon they couldn't defend against. Commander Jae Young's squad reached the cruiser's bridge. Instead of using standard breach tactics, they sang an ancient Korean war song as they entered. The alien crew, already weakened by the sonic assault, surrendered almost immediately. They couldn't comprehend how these primitives had turned sound itself into such an effective weapon. Professor Minji's research had shown that advanced species, in their drive for technological perfection, had lost touch with their primitive instincts. Humanity, in contrast, had kept these connections while advancing technologically. This combination proved more powerful than pure logic could handle. Across the battlefield, human forces exploited this advantage. Each squad carried Minji's transmitters, broadcasting their unique war cries as they fought. The effect was cumulative. The more voices joined the chorus, the more overwhelming it became for the alien defenders. Jae Young secured the captured cruiser and ordered his squad to set up sonic transmitters throughout the ship. Soon, the vessel that had once belonged to the Council became a broadcasting station for human battle songs, spreading the psychological weapon to an even wider range. In her laboratory, Minji received data from the captured ship. The alien's own advanced sensors provided new information about how her sonic weapon affected different species. She immediately began refining the frequencies, making the attack even more effective. The Council's military doctrine, based on predictable patterns and logical responses, crumbled in the face of human warfare. Each human squad fought differently, adapting their tactics moment by moment, their battle songs adding an element of chaos that automated systems couldn't process. Commander Jae Young's voice crackled over the command channel. "Professor, your weapon works better than we imagined. The aliens can't handle the combination of sound and unpredictable attacks." Minji nodded, though no one could see her. "Their evolution made them vulnerable," she replied. "They forgot that true strength comes from embracing both our advanced and primitive natures, not abandoning one for the other." As the battle continued, more alien ships fell to the combined assault. Human war cries echoed through space, carried by technology, but powered by something far older, the indomitable spirit of warriors who had fought and sung their defiance since the dawn of their species. The Council's mighty fleets, faced with an enemy they couldn't understand, began a full retreat. They had expected a primitive species with crude weapons. Instead, they found an opponent who had turned their own evolutionary advancement against them, using the forgotten power of primal warfare to defeat their advanced technology. Professor Minji watched the retreat on her monitors, a small smile on her face. Her research had proven what she had always believed. Humanity's greatest strength lay not in abandoning their past as they advanced, but in carrying it with them, combining the old with the new in ways that their enemies could never expect. The Grand Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Sunmei stood before them. Gone was the gleaming perfection of their meeting place. Weapon impacts had cracked the crystal walls, and emergency force fields flickered where windows had once been. The three artificial suns now glowed at half power, casting long shadows across worried faces. "I tried to warn you," Sun Mai said, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Every weakness we mocked has become our undoing." Their need for sleep. It taught them to fight in shifts, to strike when we least expect. Their emotional nature. It gives them strength we cannot comprehend. On the massive display behind her, footage showed the combined Earth fleet approaching the Council's core worlds. Captain Yujin's ships moved in formations that defied conventional tactics, their crews pushing themselves beyond what should have been possible. The sound of their war cries, now transmitted through captured Council technology, made even the bravest alien warriors tremble. Minister Ta-Min sat slumped in his hover chair, his once pristine robes stained and torn. "How could we have been so wrong?" he whispered, watching as another defense fleet broke under the human assault. His antenna drooped in shame as he remembered his own mocking words about humanity's potential. The Council members watched in horror as Captain Yujin's flagship led a devastating attack on their main defensive line. The humans didn't just fight. They sang as they fought, their ancient battle songs carrying through space on frequencies that penetrated every shield, every defense. "Their entire history is written in warfare," Sun Mei continued, pointing to historical data scrolling across a side screen. "While we evolved past conflict, they learned from it. Every battle made them stronger. Every war taught them something new. Their short lives meant they had to adapt quickly, had to pass knowledge down through generations." In space, the human fleet demonstrated this truth. Ships dove through gaps that shouldn't have existed, crews reacted to threats before they'd fully emerge, and every defeat only made them fight harder. The Council's prediction algorithms, based on logic and probability, failed completely against human unpredictability. Several Council members began arguing among themselves. Some blamed others for the disaster, while a growing number suggested surrendering before the humans reached their homeworlds. The unity that had held their civilization together for millennia began to crack. Minister Ta-Min stood shakily. "I resign my position," he announced, his voice trembling. "I failed to see what Admiral Sunma saw. I dismissed the signs because they didn't fit our understanding of advancement." As he walked out of the chamber, others followed, abandoning their posts in fear of the approaching human fleet. Captain Yujin's voice broadcast across all frequencies as her fleet breached another defense line. Her war cry, joined by thousands of others, caused panic among the defending forces. Ships that had never known defeat turned and fled before the human advance. Sun Mai activated a new display, showing how human tactics had evolved throughout the conflict. "Look," she commanded the remaining Council members. "They learn from every engagement. They take our technology and improve it in ways we never imagined. They fight with both advanced weapons and primitive courage." The representatives from 3 different species stood up. "We wish to open separate peace negotiations with Earth," they announced. Others quickly joined them, breaking centuries of Council unity in their rush to avoid humanity's wrath. In her flagship, Captain Yujin received the first surrender messages. Her crew, exhausted but unbowed, maintained their battle songs. The sound had become more than a weapon. It was a symbol of humanity's rise from perceived weakness to unprecedented strength. Sun Mai watched as more Council members fled the chamber. "We thought their divisions made them weak," she said to those who remained. "But those divisions created diversity we cannot match. Every human culture added something unique to their fighting style, their strategies, their songs." The Council's automated defense systems, programmed over centuries for maximum efficiency, proved useless against human innovation. Where the Council's forces fought according to established patterns, humans created new tactics in the middle of battle, adapting faster than the most advanced AI could predict. Minister Ta-Min's final act before leaving was to release all his research on human civilization. The data showed how completely they had misunderstood Earth's development. What they had seen as primitive emotional responses were actually complex decision-making processes that incorporated both logic and instinct. As the combined Earth fleet approached the Council's capital world, more species broke away to sue for peace. They had finally learned what Sunmai had suspected from the beginning. Humanity's greatest strength lay in embracing both their primitive past and their technological future. The Council Chamber, once the seat of absolute power in the galaxy, now stood nearly empty. Those few who remained watched in silence as human ships entered orbit around their world. The war cries that echoed through space were no longer just sounds of battle. They were the herald of a new era in galactic history. Sunlight streamed through the restored crystal walls of the Council Chamber, now rebuilt with a blend of alien and human architecture. Where once only advanced species had sat in judgment, now humans took their places as equals. The chamber buzzed with dozens of languages, both alien and earthborn, as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the anniversary of first contact. Admiral Sunma stood at the central podium, her stance relaxed but commanding. Beside her stood General Jinwoo and Captain Yujin, their military uniforms modified to include both Earth and Council insignia. The scene would have been unthinkable just 1 year ago. The integration of human and Council technology has exceeded all expectations, Sunmai announced to the assembled delegates. But more importantly, the exchange of culture and knowledge has enriched all our species. She gestured to Commander Jae-young, who was surrounded by alien officers eager to learn from her experience. In the year since the war, Jae-young had become the most sought-after military instructor in known space. Species that had evolved past warfare found themselves drawn to the human understanding of conflict and resolution. They learned not just tactics, but the deeper wisdom that came from humanity's long history of war and peace. Professor Minji's sonic research had transformed into a cultural exchange program. Alien species discovered that human battle songs carried more than just martial power. They held stories, traditions, and lessons that had helped Earth's civilizations survive and grow stronger through adversity. In orbit above the Council world, human and alien ships patrolled together. The crews had learned to combine their strengths: alien technology and human adaptability, Council precision, and Earth creativity. Captain Yujin's hybrid combat techniques had become standard training across the combined fleet. Minister Tamin, who had once mocked human potential, now worked closely with Earth's diplomatic corps. His humility had earned him a new role as a bridge between old Council traditions and new human innovations. "We thought we had outgrown the need for growth," he admitted to the assembly. "Humans taught us we were wrong." The chamber's displays showed scenes from across the galaxy. Human teachers working with alien students, joint scientific projects combining different approaches to technology, cultural exchanges that enriched all species involved. What had begun in conflict had transformed into something unprecedented. Commander Jae-young stood to address her alien students. "Strength isn't just about technology or biology," she explained. "It's about understanding both your capabilities and limitations, then finding ways to overcome those limitations without losing what makes you unique." The new peace treaty was more than just a diplomatic document. It represented a fundamental shift in galactic civilization. Humans had proved that advancement didn't require abandoning their roots. Instead, they had shown how to carry forward the best of their past while embracing the future. Admiral Sunmai watched with satisfaction as human and alien representatives mingled freely. The fear and disdain that had marked first contact had been replaced by mutual respect and genuine curiosity. Even the most advanced species had learned to value human insights. Professor Minji's latest project filled one corner of the chamber, a massive archive combining Council technology with human oral traditions. Alien scholars studied Earth's history with newfound appreciation, understanding that what they had dismissed as primitive actually contained deep wisdom. As the anniversary celebration reached its peak, something unprecedented occurred. An alien delegate began to sing, not a human war cry, but their species' own long-forgotten song of victory. Others joined in, their voices merging with human songs in a harmony that had never been heard before. The sound rose through the chamber, carried by Minji's refined transmitters. But this time, it wasn't a weapon. It was a celebration of unity and diversity, of strength found in embracing both past and future. The combined voices of a dozen species shook the stars themselves, not in war, but in joy. General Jin Wu smiled as he watched young human and alien officers planning joint training exercises. "We taught them how to fight," he said quietly to Sunmai. "But more importantly, we taught them why to fight, to protect, to grow, to become better than we were yesterday." The galaxy had indeed learned its lesson. Kindness was not weakness, emotion was not a flaw, and true advancement came not from abandoning the past, but from building upon it. As human and alien voices joined in celebration, the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, illuminating the dawn of a new era in galactic history. The end.